Our next presenter is Jordyn Dowling. Jordyn is 13 years old and lives in Eagleby, and she has just started high school. Jordyn spoke at the last Chocolate Summit in 2021 and returns because she wants to be a voice for the other children that don't have a chance to speak out. Jordyn says that everyone has dealt with COVID one way or another. I feel it has been a huge impact on our use of social media and our mental health, and that they are both connected to some extent. This is what Jordyn will unpack today. Please give a warm welcome to Jordyn Dowling.
Hi, I'm Jordyn and I'm 13 years old. I'm here today to talk to you about how COVID has impacted on us as children and how we are attempting at handling its effects. Significant changes during COVID-19 were noticeable, especially the increased usage of devices. The increased usage has had extreme consequences on children's mental health. I would now like to touch on some of these effects. Parents are always complaining about their children being on their devices, and this too has further increased since COVID-19. My belief is that this is a result of COVID-19 and subsequent lockdowns. Children go to school to see their friends and socialise, play and learn, and on returning home, they continued with their play activities. However, during lockdowns, we were instructed to stay inside, have no contact with family and friends, and even not to go to school unless it is mandatory. Even then, we were asked to socially distance. Whilst kids were in lockdown, their learning had to go online as per the school timetable did. Children started to explore playing games on the internet and texting their friends to keep in touch. As you can imagine, it was extremely boring for children during this trying time. They transferred this boredom seeking other avenues to entertain themselves. Social media became an important outlet to socialise and keep in contact. Statistics have shown an increase of screen time by 76%, and studies have shown that in Australia alone, we spend 5.5 hours a day on our phones and devices since the onset of COVID-19. This shows that children were more drawn to spending more time on the internet and their phones. Once the lockdowns were lifted, we as children had to readjust to a normal way of living. We had to learn how to be children again because we were still afraid of this new illness that had changed our lives for forever. Please bear in mind, the effects of COVID-19 affected us all differently, and children found a new way of coping. Prior to COVID-19, children went to school, participated in extracurricular activities, socialised with family and friends, and suddenly, because of this pandemic, they desperately needed to get away, have a break, or just chill. This making devices overly tempting. This was also a frustrating and trying time for our parents. They also worked from home, and then they had to become our teachers. This made a huge impact on the parent-child relationship, making it a testing time for many of the parents. This caused some parents to be burnt out, needing more help around the house, causing us all to work together to make the home functional again. Parents out there probably don't want to hear it, but it was true. Children felt more pressure was put on them to help around the house when they would have otherwise been engaged at school. Parents should have been more understanding of us children, being understanding of new living conditions dictated by COVID-19. Instead of our parents yelling at us to hop off our phones, I feel it would have been a nice time for families to bond. With changed living conditions during COVID-19, mental health issues were on the rise. Anxiety and depression were more prevalent as more and more people were using devices, thereby missing out on meaningful social interactions which once provided a real sense of well-being. Did you know too much use of your cell phone can cause psychological disorders? You can lose the link between reality and fantasy. While hanging out with your family could help bridge the gap. But parents were also working, and children couldn't spend quality time or relax, so they were more and more in the digital world with little or no breaks, or little or no supervision. This was a daily thing, with loneliness setting in, making our mental health worse. A good idea that might have helped would be that every second weekend you organise to go somewhere for breakfast, go to the park, or spend quality time with loved ones. People always make excuses that they are just too busy, but all you have to do is spend time as a family having dinners with no devices. This encourages the family to have a nice and genuine conversation. It is sometimes difficult when some parents work night shifts, so it's important to find time to connect. We need to encourage children to voice their thoughts to their parents and carers about how they are feeling, and you might just be surprised to see how many people are being affected by COVID-19. Can you see how this could affect your child? With us or our parents being on devices due to COVID, we haven't had time together as a family. This can cause your child to feel distant and isolated from you. COVID-19 changed how we lived and interacted. People became more afraid to be themselves and live life to the fullest. It is so important talking to your child and letting them express how they are feeling after COVID-19. Don't minimize or shut down what they're feeling and let them express themselves. Since I know adults tend to say, "Oh, you're too young to know what that is," or "You're too young to feel that way." That will make them feel unheard and like we are being dismissed, not being allowed to say what we feel like, causing us to shut down our emotions. You don't want them doing that, do you? So, COVID-19 has left its footprint on all of our lives. This is evident in the relationships that evolved during the pandemic. As parents or communities, we need to find ways and means to reduce the usage of the internet and devices and encourage on building positive relationships that were once eroded by this pandemic. Parents, this is your time to bridge the gaps that COVID created for us all, and take time to enjoy the time you spend with your children. Having a strong family or community network allows for better access to advice in regards to mental health. Now that the pandemic is over and under control, we need to stand up and take control of our relationships, mental health, and well-being. Thank you.